folks, I'm L.A. Little, and this is your daily TA Wrap, where we take a look at these markets from a neoclassical perspective and ask ourselves what happened today, and what does it tell us about tomorrow. I do the show 4 times a week, Monday through Thursday, live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time here on the base of the beautiful Rocky Mountains. It's been a beautiful Indian summer here. I'm sure it will come to an end just like all things, and the winter will come upon us, but you know, you take it a day at a time, you enjoy it as you go. Folks, we had another down day in the market. This is like 5 in a row, and given the way this year has been, it must seem like it will not end, unlike the Indian summer. Markets trade lower again today. We had the Dow Jones down 61 points, trading into, what is that, 15,273. S&P's down 4.5, 1692 3/4, down 0.25%. Composite, it read right across the board today. Composite down 7 points, 3761. The index down 10, 3208. Apple was actually trading lower today, bringing that down. The Russell, still, the Russell is the one that doesn't want to give it up. Just a point lower, 1073.50. If we look elsewhere, gold was up today, down after hours. It was up about 15-20 bucks today. Silver couldn't hardly get moving though. I saw bonds trade up today. It looks like they're down after hours. They were up pretty good today. Dollar took another hit, but the volumes didn't look pretty bad. Didn't look bad there as it came back. So that will be something we ought to take a look at. If we think about this market, okay, and I'm going to be gone the next, what is it, 5-6 days. I'll be back on the 1st, doing a show on the 1st again. So, like it or not, I'm not going to be sitting here jabbering to you the next couple, 3 sessions. So let's take a good look at what's going on and see if we can make sense of it before I take off. 5 days down. All right, you come off about 1730. You're down to about 1691 is the low. That's about 40 points. That's a pretty good percentage. That's almost 3%. So 3% off the top, straight pullback, right? And so now the question is how far is this thing going to go? Because now it's clearly underneath the retest regenerate zone. Both cases had less volume, but it did it. It's done it for 2 days in a row, 2 bars. That's not good. If this thing doesn't turn tomorrow, I would be fairly worried that really is a failure at the highs. In the sense of the retest regenerate, I mean it's 2 bars under. You just can't go anymore. You got to catch a bounce here. So S&Ps do not look good. The other thing that doesn't look good, and they don't have it much here, but you have it on some of them. These tails starting to develop on the tops. You never want to see the tails at the tops. I mean, that's not a good thing. Now, the only thing I would bring your attention to, and I'm going to pull over to the weekly here on the S&Ps. The S&Ps are doing a retest regenerate on the weekly. That's 1681 is the low. So on a weekly basis, right? This isn't out of the wood. You know, this isn't anything bad yet. Right? You're just doing a retest regenerate on the weekly. You couldn't hold it on the daily, but maybe the weekly holds, right? Pretty good volume on that bar. So as we come down, that's 1681. If you take a look at 1681, that's right into this area, this gap area, this support zone. And I want to flip to another chart, and I want to show you what's happening here on an intraday basis. So I've got this on 10 days, 30 minutes. This is the S&P as well. You've got this gap area that's holding so far. They came down there twice, 3, 4, about, what is that, 5 or 6 times now, and they bought it each time. You know, folks, if you can't go the other way, you're going to break this thing down. I think they're going to try to break it down tomorrow. So this looks to me like they're going to try to close this gap tomorrow. And if I pull this back a little bit farther, you can see that gap there, and you got another one down here. Where's that one? 1674. The top of that bar, 1681. Lo and behold, the big bar there, and that's the one that has the volume on it. The wide price spread is there. On an intraday, that coincides with what we were just talking about on the daily chart right into here, 1681. So it looks to me like they're going to try to close this gap tomorrow. If they do, you might get that spike down right into this area, which actually would be a full retest regen on the weekly. And that would set you up, and I don't know if it happens tomorrow, maybe it happens tomorrow and Friday, but it looks like that's what it's trying to do. Now let's look at the rest of the indexes to see if they confirm that thought. So I'm going to go to the Dow Jones. You can see how the Dow's coming back, blew right through the support zone, couldn't get any support. Okay, so if you look here now, you really don't have any, there's nothing here. It's all straight up on the way up, and so far it's straight down on the way down. The next area that has any significance is the bottom of this bar, and now you're fairly deep into it. So Dow could go all the way back down into this 1500 area, the way it's trying to set up, and that would be a retest, regenerate on this high. And you know, I wouldn't have thought that it was going to come this deep. It's still not clear that it will, but you know, another bar this way, that's what it's going to look like. So Dow, S&Ps, and we know those are the weakest ones, and they keep suffering the consequence of being weak. If we pull in here and look at the composite, now the composite had, if you remember, 37.98.16. The bar next to it is 38.98.76. Went over the top. That was the bar had the volume. So you got volume left at the top, which is actually good. It says you're probably trying to get back up there at some point, and so far we haven't. We're fading back in. To get a retest here, you actually would have to come pretty deep. I don't know that it's going to do that. I would think this little ledge that you see here, that would probably be the extent of it. So you almost got into that ledge last time. That would be the bottom of this bar, 37.37. Volume's about equal on all of these now. And here you can see the kind of the tells taking place as well. So even though this continues to look fine, you can see that, you know, it's wearing. It's just going across. Now, we've seen this action before, and I don't want to sound too pessimistic, and we've seen it in different kinds of cases. When we get towards the end of a long run, we've seen it, right, and seen it go up again, and then again, and then you get the bigger pullback. And this is on the strong index. We've made a pretty decent run here, and now we're getting this. This could be nothing more than like we saw back here, and you just simply go higher again. You know, there's nothing in a warning signal here yet that has me overly worried. Even if we pulled back, I think it's still just a pullback. But you know, you're timing these things, and so if you're timing this and you're trying to time it, you know, this is up in the air. It still looks fine. It could pull back, it could go up. There's no signal here. You just had an inside day. And if I look at the NDX looks almost the same way, right? Really nothing different on this chart. You got almost to the bottom, I believe. I don't think you hit it. 3205.50. Yeah, 3205. No, I was wrong. It actually did hit it at the end of the day, I guess. So it got underneath it. So we did get under that bar, and that bar has 17.2. We did 16. Yeah. So, you know, this one's drifting lower. It looks like it's going to try to drift a little bit lower too. So I guess, you know, this is not a strong signal, but it did test under there with more volume, which says it probably will try to test it again. Top of this bar, the wider bar, is 3204, and you got into that. Did it with 18.2 versus 15. So yeah, NDX looks like it's going to try to come back in some more. The breakout bar is back here. That's at 3174, so we're 30 points away. Yeah, that's within distance. I mean, it could eventually get there. Thursday, Friday, yeah, 2 days. Going into, you know, with the budget malaise that's going on, you could see this keep drifting. Now, the one thing that looks different, and we'll see that when we get to the sectors, is the XLF actually tried to turn today. And I have a question that was emailed to me about that, and we'll take that as we talk about it. And then I go to the Russell. The Russell's been the strongest one. Now, the Russell yesterday gave us a signal that it wanted to come down again, right? Went into the top, failed, left a long tail, came back. Well, today what did it do? Goes right back up there, test again, fails again, even less volume, folks, this thing's going to pull back. It's going to pull back and retest regen off this high. And you can just see it coming. It's going to come into this bar from 917 and then the high over here on August 5th. So if I'm looking at the indexes, they're telling me we're going to try to come down deeper. You know, we're not done. And when I started this week on Sunday night, I talked about it looked to me like it was going to be a rough week and it was going to be tough for this market to get higher. And it's going to struggle, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's not giving anything up. It's like, you know, I was telling the folks in the TNT room today, you know, it's like Rocky Balboa. Every time they get a knockdown type punch, it just gets back up and goes again. And you can see that intraday when we were looking here. I mean, you know, put this back on one, you know, every time they knock this thing down, we're back up, right? Knock it down, back up, right? And they just do it over and over and over. Pretty, not a huge spread, 10 points, that's reasonable, but a lot of up and down today. All right, let's go to the sectors, because here, you know, it's not so much a different story. We just had an interesting, and I'm gonna go straight to it. We had an interesting case here with the XLF. And the XLF got an under, you know, it was down about, I think it was about 4.5% by the end here. It got an under over lighter volume after what is a extended move, right? Because it was fast straight down. So that looks like it's going to try to bounce. Now, where's it going to bounce to is the next question. Your test is right here, right away. 2021, you're at, you got as high as 2018. That's the test. And if it gets over that, and these will probably redraw tomorrow. If it gets over that, it's going to be the top of this bar where the volume is. So anywhere from 2021 to 2033 is going to be a tough spot on this bounce. Now, assuming it gets up there and can't get over it, that's an ABCD down that will take it all the way back down towards these lows. So when I look at it from that perspective, that's not a good thing, right? If that's what it's going to do. The question that was emailed, JPM bounced at the neckline of its potential head and shoulders top. Okay, I don't follow head and shoulders that much, but we can take a look at it and see what it looks like. So let me pop real quick over to JPM and handle it while I'm here. Okay, so a potential head and shoulders top. Let's see what it looks like. Well, that's a I guess we're talking about the weekly, because if I pull it over on the weekly, I can kind of see a head and shoulders, right? You got a left shoulder here, a head there, right shoulder here. Okay, so let's talk about, you know, I don't do that much classical stuff anymore, but I know it pretty much by heart because I traded it many years. A head and shoulders top, and most people just do not follow Edwards and McGee. Edwards and McGee said you're going to have volume on your left shoulder, less volume at your top, and even less volume on your right shoulder. Well, that's not quite what you got here, right? If I look at the volume at the top, you know, the volume's just not there, and then the right shoulder, you got some pretty decent volume. So I don't know if that's really a head and shoulders top. So that's the first thing. The second thing, on the counter side of that, is that JPM got a heck of a move today. I didn't catch the news. I'm sure it had something to do with all their litigation, because that seems to be everything they are anymore. That low that it was testing, huge volume coming into it, huge volume underneath it today. I don't know that that's done. So this to me looks like a bounce that's eventually going to come back and test again. So there's a question that was emailed to me was, is this a potential turn, and is it a major turn, right? And it really held and it's going to go back up the other way. Yeah, you get a bounce. I don't know that it's done though. Now this is what was keeping the SPX up today, the XLF. It was one of the stronger ones. Let's go look at the others while we're here. Transports, they actually came back, volume expanding. They're into the support zone. They're testing this wide price spread. Retest, regenerate. Looks to me like they're going to try to get all the way back down into the bottom if they get into this bar tomorrow and stay in it. And that's the 118.17. It got down to 118.21 on the close. So right here, it's kind of do or die. You gotta bounce it here, or you're gonna try to go all the way to the next support zone. And right now it looks like it could bounce, but I think the general market is what's going to drive it either way. It's not going to be just on its own. The SMHs, the semis, they don't even want to pull back. They're still hanging up there. That's why the NDX, the NASDAQ still looks as good as it does. So they still look good. If I look at the SOX, not the SOX, but the XLB. On the XLB, long tails, right? You keep staying underneath this bar. That's where the volume was. This looks like it wants to get right to the bottom of the support zone and do a retest regen. If I look at the energy, big volume today in the energy market. I'm not sure who was driving that volume, but to me, that's probably not a good sign when you can't go up and you just came down and you're doing that kind of volume. I think it's going to try to trade lower. Now we had, if you remember, we had ABCDs up on a lot of these. Well, now you're starting to set up potential ABCDs down on some of these. This is one of them. Let me see, that low was 39. Well, actually, it's not quite true. Not the way I count them. So that's really not an ABCD down yet, a potential one. The bar here is too high. So, yeah, maybe it's not there. Let me go back. Let me look at the XLB one more time. Because we got small bounces yesterday. I thought this one was set up that way. The XLB is set up that way. That one can give you an ABCD down. So there's a few of them that are. XLE is not one of them. XLF we actually just looked at. Let me flip the XLI. Okay, XLI. So this one actually still holding nicely. Not as much volume. That still looks good. XLI still looks good. It's been one of the strongest ones lately. How about the XLK? This is tech. Yeah, so it's doing a retest still on this bar, 32.26. Still holding it barely. And the volume on the breakout bar was quite a bit more, so that still is a retest regen that's working. XLP got hammered one more time. I mean, this went straight up and now straight back down. Volume's expanding again. Huge range trade, keeps trading the range. So if you like playing range trades, that's a nice one to play. Especially if you can catch it when the dividends are going to work in your favor. Utilities, just a lost cause. I don't see anything there. XLV came back hard again. This is like 4 or 5 days, just like the SPA. Coming into the next support zone. It's almost like it's going to come all the way back to the bottom of this zone here. What does the bottoms look like? 3.8, 6.4, 6.5, doing 5.2. Yeah, that should hold here in support, but right now it don't look like it has any support. You know, the thing is too, if you think about it, 5 days down, you haven't had that all year. You gotta expect some sort of a bounce in here somewhere. I mean, maybe tomorrow's the bounce, maybe it's Friday, I don't know, but you know, if you've been that strong all year long, you got to think a bounce is going to come in somewhere. So I wouldn't get, you know, even if you're a little bit on the negative side, I wouldn't certainly go out there and start shorting stuff. At least let it bounce and short it if that's what you want to do. XLY still hanging. It's doing a retest regen. So sector wise, some of them look like they can pull a little bit lower. They don't look terrible. The indexes don't look terrible, but they look like they're going to try to trade lower tomorrow. On the weeklies, they look like just general retest regens off the highs on most of them. On the backside of all that, you still have some ABCDs up, but now you're starting to set some small ABCDs down as well. And if you catch what I'm saying here, what I'm saying is the market is confused. It doesn't know what it wants to do. And when it's that way, you just kind of pull in your horns and wait on it and let it tell you what it wants to do. And if I pop over and I look at the TLT right quick, and then I'll get to your questions. The TLT actually went up again today. It's over that swing point high, so it clearly has broken. Looks to me like it's going up into this area. You can see the zone now has drawn up into the area that I was thinking it would try to get to. That's the July 5th bar, the July 31st bar, and the August 12th bar. It's trying to get up in there, and that's if you have been long this, which we are, this is probably where you want to try to sell out, or at least take some of your money. Let's go look at that dollar, because the dollar pulled back pretty hard. Now the dollar got hammered last week on the Fed news, and the volume came out at the bottom. Let me see, 2163, yeah, at the bottom. So that looks like it's going to come back and try to test it. Got to 2165, so another couple cents. If you get that test tomorrow and you hold and close over it, and the volume is light, you're gonna fail to move lower, both on this daily and if you go over and look at the weekly. Remember, the weekly has a lot of support back in here in terms of high volumes into that zone. If you get under that tomorrow and you get underneath here and back over it, right, that's going to be a reasonably fast move. That would probably call for a bounce. So I would think the dollar, assuming it can hold that low and close over it for the weekly, you'll get a bounce next week out of it. Silver and gold. Gold was up today. Silver couldn't move. Nothing big here. I saw the gold stocks were moving up today. I wouldn't get too excited there either. Let me look at oil right quick, and then let me go to your questions. Yeah, oil couldn't move either. Gave it back up. So oil's starting to set up a nice range, nice big range. And if we go over and look at the weekly, you can see it more clearly. Your top over here has been tested before. That big volume bar is 37.02. It's wide price spread, high volume. It's coming back in to test it again on the weekly. All right, let's see what kind of questions we got here. Could I look at LRCX? Let me pop some of these in so I can look at them. LRCX, ODP, SKUL, ABBV, and whatever else y'all come up with. So let's get them in here and see what we got. Okay, so LRCX, this is a chip stock if I remember right. Lam Research, nice big spike up. Yeah, that's a nice breakout. That is a really nice breakout. So notice how you broke over multiple swing points here, right? You did 3 of them at a shot. And if you do something like that, then typically you're going to get a fast move. You don't have it on the weekly though, because of the oddity of how it worked, right? Because this actually got higher, and then that bar went over it before 6 could print. And so you actually have a breakout without it here, but in a way you kind of have it happening. I mean, it was almost 6 bars. It's not as clean. Three breaks here though. This thing's you know, unfortunately it's probably going to give you one more day, and then you'll get some sort of pullback. And I think that pullback is to be bought. If you want to chase it, you can, but I wouldn't put much money on it if I was chasing. You got an ABCD up, both on the daily and the weekly. And let me see, what does that measure? 4620. Well, actually it's a little less than that because you did one there, so you really don't have it here. You have it on the weekly though, and it's not that far. So 4335. Let's see what 51. That's a little less than 8. 54. Yeah, you're almost done. Maybe you get another 1.5 out of this. So I think you have to wait on your retrace, especially with the general market really struggling. But yeah, that's definitely a good one. ODP. So ODP, let's see what we got here. Office Depot. Yeah, you're going for these multiple breaks. What you want to do, folks, if you see these coming, I don't know if you picked this up on a scan or something, but you've already got the move, right? If you see these coming and you see swing point highs lining up like that, and you start to break them, you jump on it right away, and then you get your move. This one, you know, on the weekly doesn't have it either. I suspect this is going to be the same case. You're gonna come right back. You got an ABCD up here. It measures. It's done. 413. Yeah, it's done. So, again, I wouldn't chase these things. I would wait on it to come back. Now, it has a high volume high, big spike here, 610. That's where it's going to try to go. So you get your pullback, you know, back in towards this area. You just buy it and try to ride it up there. That would be a heck of a run too. That'd be $2, right, or $1.60. $1.60. That would be a fairly large percentage gain. And the last one, skull. Let's see what that one looks like. Not quite the same case. This one fell today. I wouldn't touch this one. Definitely wait on this one to retrace if you want to buy it, and I try to buy it down. You could start on this support zone or get it down here, but I wouldn't jump into that one. Skull candy, huh? That's interesting. ABBV. Let's see what that one looks like. So Feedy, you brought up HMIN last night. Let's pop to HMIN. I saw it made a nice move today. It was a nice buy. We talked about it. It was the spot to try and buy it, right? And then I showed you how it was up against potential retest regenerates on the weekly and the monthly. But yeah, it was a nice spike today. Volume comes in. You caught a nice buy here. You want to sell into this pop up into this area if you can get it. So I just thought I'd bring that back out. It was a good pick last night. ABVV. Let's see what we got here real quick. Okay, so ABVI pulls back into support off. See how this one also broke multiple swing point highs? You got two of them here breaking one after another. You get your nice big push, and you see how it pulls back in. Those ones we were talking about earlier, I suspect you're going to see something like this. They may not come back this far, but that's the sort of scenario you'd probably be looking for. This one is coming back with too much volume. Okay, so you're into this high, 6 mil. Oh no, not bad. 6 mil. You're doing 4. Yeah, this is where you buy it. You put your stop underneath here. 40, what is that, 44.81? Put your stop just underneath there, about 44. You'd have to look at the ATR on it, but somewhere around 44.31 or something would be my guess, just looking at it. Last question is ABCD up. How do you generally buy one? Well, you want to buy it when you see, let's go back to, well, forget going back. Let's just look at this one. I can see the B point about to be broken here, right? But what I really want to do is I want to buy what I think is the C point. And I want to look for some support somewhere that tells me that. And I can't see it on this particular chart, but if I had a support zone down into here off of whatever, I would try to buy the C point, or what I expect to be the C point, the retrace, right? Because you get to the point where you've got something you can put your back up against. And then if it breaks, you get the full move. Some people try to buy the breakouts, but I don't try to buy breakouts most of the time. The only ones I typically try to buy are the ones that we saw right at the beginning with LRCX and ODP, right? Lamb Research, for example, here where we were breaking out, right, over multiple swing points. That can get you a fast move. And this one may give you one more day of the fast move, and then that's about it. So if you're buying like here's one that if this was an ABCD, you would buy the support as it comes back into support. That's your C point. That's where you're trying to pick it up. All right, folks, I'm going to have to take off here. I wish you the best. You take care of yourself. I will see you when I get back. Until then, happy trading. As always, I'm LA Little. This is and was your daily TA wrap. Have yourself a great night, a great weekend. And I'll catch up with you on Tuesday night where we'll do it all again. Take care, folks. Good night.